Welcome to another random live stream, uh, unannounced and all that. Let me just start by saying, as I will keep saying for probably a long time, I'm sorry I can't put stuff out faster and I don't have the time. But help me blow up the channel, and then eventually, when I can actually start making money off of it, maybe I could do it full time. I would love to do this. There's so many video ideas I have that I just, I'll never get to. Um, my vault build for Crusaders is still my priority. That'll be next, but um, I haven't had time, so I just wanted to put something out, and I was playing the game, so I might as well um, live stream and talk about something that um, I've mentioned before, but uh, there was materials management. If you look back, I have a video on materials management, but um, so I was about to do an upgrade, and I was noticing that there's different, as of a few months ago update, there's different tiers of materials. There's these three low tiers and these three higher tiers for your primary equipment. And uh, I thought I had converted and gotten rid of all the low tier materials, but I noticed I still had a little bit, 201 scrap materials, 13 enchant dust, 3 glowing shards. So it's looking like they might prioritize using the higher ones. So what I mean is, when you're going to do an upgrade, it'll add together. If you click this little settings icon right there and you have this on, that's for primary gear and that's for your secondary gear. It'll use either high or low tier materials. So it's adding the two together here and saying I have enough, even though this is using regular scrap materials and I only have 201 scrap materials because it's adding in the reinforced scrap materials. But the fact that I have those weird amounts left over of the low tier kind of makes it, I thought I had gotten rid of it all, so it kind of makes me wonder if, if you have this setting on, does it use the higher tier ones first, which would be totally stupid if they programmed it that way intentionally, or it could be a mistake. Or I could have just gotten these few extra low tier materials, maybe somehow, I got some lower tier gear um, at some point after that whole, they came out with these, because right now I'm only getting the higher tier materials. So I'm not really sure where these came from, but just in case they're prioritizing using the higher ones when you have it set to use either, and I want to actually make sure I get rid of these. So what I was gonna do is, figure out the best way to do that, and we'll be testing out here live if they actually do prioritize using the higher tier materials. Um, and also, you know, I've farmed these, even though these are pretty low numbers of materials. I did the work to get them. Why shouldn't I, make use out of them? And something to note on that, and why I want to try to get rid of the lower tier ones as quickly as possible, is when you're upgrading your main gear, it will use the low tier materials until a certain point, which I believe is level 20. So this, I think, is the last upgrade here, this 19 to 20, that's going to use the lower tier. Could be wrong. It could be the next level after that. Um, so, I want to use up those lower tier materials while I still have gear that uses them to upgrade. Because once I'm past that, now the only thing I can do is convert the lower tier up to higher tier at a pretty bad rate. Um, so if you look here with 10, what is it, scrap materials, I can make 1 enchanted dust. So I could turn in 200 of these into 20 enchanted dust. Now with that same 200 of scrap materials, I could turn into 1 beguiling dust. So basically the conversion is, which I remember reading that this would be it, 20 enchanted dust to 1 beguiling dust. And I remember when they first came out with the different tiers, when you would go to upgrade, I'm not sure what triggers if it's still here or if they took it out or if it's only in certain cases where this upgrade button at the bottom would actually say convert instead of upgrade. If you were, I thought it was only if you're missing one of the types, but maybe it also has to be with this off and you actually have all of that lower tier, it's not just adding the two tiers together. So this convert button, I mean, this is just an upgrade button now, and it tells you how much you're missing. I remember being able to convert it right here. So I don't know if it's only in certain cases or if they took that out. But either way, what I want to do is make sure I'm using my lower tier materials while I still have gear that requires them to upgrade. And the most important thing about all this materials management is your secondary gear here. Because those crystals that they use to upgrade are much harder to get. So up until level 10 of all this gear uses the lower tier enigmatic crystals. And so you want to make sure you're not using any cryptic crystals to upgrade lower tier gear that you could be using enigmatic crystals on. And in most cases that won't happen, but if you are in a good clan or something and you have people that are willing to carry you through challenge rifts to get these crystals, you might end up in a point where you finish all of your challenge rift levels that give enigmatic and you start getting some cryptic, and then you come here to upgrade, from level 8 to 9 or something, and you have the you have some cryptic, so you don't want to accidentally use those on the lower tier, up until they're level 10. You want to only use enigmatic. So if you click the settings here, you can also just go to settings and go to general and scroll down. This one I highly recommend leaving it off so it doesn't automatically use either tier, at least until these are all at level 10. So now that I'm going to turn that on because I still have 90 enigmatic crystals. So, and I no longer, they're all my secondary gears past level 10, so I no longer need those. So, and there's no conversion directly to convert those, but you can do it here in the form of just turning on the settings. So you see it says I have 295 cryptic crystals. If I turn on this setting to use either tier, it's now 299. So is that, oh, I thought it was 10 to 1, so it's actually 20 to 1. So wait, was it 295? Hold on. 295. Okay, and then, so I got four, it converts into 4 cryptic crystals. So that's hold on, that's strange. What? Is it just me? That doesn't even out. But I guess regardless, that's how I can still use my enigmatic crystals. Because, yeah, 22 and a half. So it's 22 and a half enigmatic crystals gets you 1 cryptic crystal, apparently. I thought it was 20 to 1 or 10 to 1 or something like that. But so anyways, now that I'm past level 10 on all my secondary gear, I'm going to have this setting on here, so I will use either tier. But back to the primary gear and the scrap materials, dust, shards, I want to make sure that I'm using up all my low tier ones, even though it's going to be I still have a lot of upgrading to do. I'll still have plenty of chance to do this, but I just figured I'd make this since I was looking at it, and I actually have a perfect amount if I want to try. So what like I said, I'm not sure if it's prioritizing using the higher tier ones first, if you have it set to use either, because these are weird amounts. So I don't want to be stuck with these left over forever. So what I'm going to do is force it to use these scrap materials by making sure I only have exactly enough between scrap and reinforced scrap, that I have exactly enough for this upgrade, which if you look here it costs 8k scrap materials. And it works out perfectly because I have exactly, so if it's 8K, I want to have 7,799 reinforced plus this 201 so that I have exactly 8K. So I'm going to bring this down to 7799, which works out perfectly if I do some conversions, since I have 8349. So if I get rid of exactly 550 of these reinforced, then I'll have exactly enough between the two materials. So I want to get rid of 550 reinforced, which I will do by converting them. Hopefully I don't mess this up. All right, 550, right? So 55. I want to use 550 of the reinforced scrap materials. Okay, so we have 7799 plus this 201. We have exactly 8K between the two. So I'm going to force it to use up these bottom scrap materials, and we will see if it prioritizes the higher tier first by if I still have any of these left, the enchanted dust and the glowing shard. So let's see. Do the upgrade. Right, so I have exactly 8K. And I have more than enough of these two since using either tier. And let's just double check if I turn this off. Ah, there's the convert button. Okay, so you have to have. See, I don't know, like what caused that to trigger. It's like you have to have the right amount of at least one of them, but I don't know. It seems a little clunky here. So what I could do here, if I turn this off, I got the convert button that I was talking about. Hopefully it'll do a confirmation. Let's see. It's not just gonna. Okay, so it's converting those reinforced down into regular scrap materials. And then I assume it would say I have 8K scrap materials, and then there'll still be a convert button to do it, converting down from beguiling dust to enchanted dust and flowing shards to glowing shards. I would have to click convert probably 3 times. So there's one way you can be sure to get rid of your lower tier, although it's a little scary doing that because you're converting higher tier down to low. But I think if this is here, it means you have enough to do it. So, but I'm gonna just, since it's kind of weird when you get that convert button to show, I'm gonna do it this way where I'm using either tier material and I am forcing it to use that last 201 scrap materials by having exactly 7,799 reinforced scrap materials. So we have exactly 8K between the two. And we'll see if it also it should use up the rest of my low tier dust and shards. Well, but we're here to find out. So let's see what happens. Okay, so I was right that at level 20 now, they'll start requiring the higher tier materials. Now let's see. I think well, let's go over here and find out. Let's find out. Are they cool? They are cool. Okay. So you didn't have to get all crazy with it like I did. We're trying to force it to use up every last low material. So it did use up the lower tier ones first. So good on you, Blizzard, and well done there. I thought I guess I just got those extra ones because I somehow got some lower tier gear and scrapped it. So you can leave that setting on, and just the main most important thing to remember is you want to use up your lower tier materials on the gear while it still requires those low tier materials. You don't want to have them still left over when all your primary gear is at 20 and can no longer use those, and you'd have to convert them up at a bad rate. And then with the secondary gear, you want to definitely make sure this setting is off until they're all at level 10. because you don't want to use any of these higher tier cryptic crystals on, you know, gear before the secondary gear before it hits 10 when it needs enigmatic. You don't want to convert them down. Once they're all at level 10, you can have that setting on. And so, yeah, with the primary gear, it seems like it works like it should. It will use the lower tier gear, lower tier materials first, if you have that setting on to use either tier. So I was worried about that. So they did it right there. But I don't know how you get that convert button to show. I don't know what the, you know, what exactly circumstance, you know, makes that button show up. It was weird that, yeah, I mean, I had to get my scrap and reinforced scrap materials together to be their sum exactly 8K for that convert button to show up. I'm not really sure how that shows up. But I think just, you know, just use this, and it looks like it works as it should. And just make sure, you know, the main point of this was to make sure you're using your lower tier materials while the gear still requires it. Because, you know, before you get up to the point where they now need the higher tier. So yeah, just also an excuse to make a little video real quick and do that experiment to see if they did it right with how they use up the materials when you have the setting on, to convert them to use either tier and upgrade. So it did get rid of the lower tier there. So that's they did it right there. So just make sure you use your lower tier upgrade materials while your gear is still low tier, which is up to level 20 for the main gear and up to level 10 for the secondary gear. So just a quick little tip there, and like I said, an experiment to see if they did the conversion when you have that setting on to use either tier. See if they actually used up the lower tier first, because I was a little worried I had weird amounts of each of the lower tier ones. So that's it. And like I said, sorry I haven't had enough time to put out videos, but let me know. I'm interested to hear if you would rather have videos more often, without all the crazy editing and, like, you know, funny stuff, just basic videos, just toss it up real quick, you know what I mean? I could do that. I just, like, don't want to because I want to do all the silly editing and everything. That's kind of like what I want my brand to be. I just don't have time for it. So comment below if you're actually watching this. Thank you. I know it's probably just a couple of my subs that check it out. But let me know. I mean, your guys' opinion is more important to me than a non-sub. So, or anyone watching this, really, if you're actually checking this out, your opinion is important. So let me know what you think. If I should just throw videos together, you know, real quick without all my silly editing that I do, to get them out quicker. I will say though, for the vault builds, dash builds, I have been gathering footage for that for months. So I do want to at least, you know, there's going to be this is one of the reasons it's going to take a little longer, is because I want to throw together, you know, all the best footage and explain it the best I can, you know, and show footage that is doing what I'm talking about at that time. So, but I think I've got it mostly gathered. So it's just when I have time to edit that together. So that will be the next one. And then a couple people have asked for my farming build, and for those elite few who are actually watching this, I'll give you a little preview. So what I call PVE solo here is my farming. It, you know, it was intended to run around by myself, but I actually use it for not just by myself, you know, for running a elder rifts or challenge rifts or a hidden layer, or if it's a dungeon and I'm strong enough at that hell level that I don't need to worry too much about survival. So it's not, I should rename it. This is just my general PVE build. that you lucky few get to preview here. And I'll just go over it real quick. So when it was originally intended to be used just by myself, the version of Holy Banner that deals damage is what I was using because it can target multiple enemies and it just zaps them and it does really good damage. But it can only target up to 8 enemies, but that's still usually enough. But switching it out for the actual regular banner that gives you the increased crit chance and damage, and it will also, give that to any party members, that kind of was a big, I think it's the way to go because it makes this build usable in those group settings. And I think it evens out, if not that it's even better than using the damage dealing version of Holy Banner, since you're giving yourself, when you're using it, that extra crit and damage. Conjuration of Light, you got to use. This is all, your farming build is all just the most AoE you can do and the highest damage. So when they added the version of Conjuration of Light that deals damage, this one, Holy Fire, it's one of the best, highest DPS skills for Crusader. Now it's very short range, but that should be fine. Your melee, you're going to get right up into the group. Ideally you want to like swarm up a bunch of enemies into one little spot and then hit all your skills. So this one is very high damage, so that's good for your farming build. And then this is just a personal thing. I use Sacred Change. There's a lot of other ways you could go. You could go with another, Consecration or some other, AoE damage. This I kind of consider AoE because it links between a bunch of enemies, and it deals damage to all of them and stuns them for 12 seconds. But if they take damage, it stops it. So I put on the Frozen Chains version of that, where it will guarantee that they're stunned even if they take damage, but it's only for 3 seconds, but that's fine. And then with my helmet, instead of having the banner that moves with you, this is just a convenience thing for farming. Enemies that are hit by the Sacred Chain are pulled together. So now, they're all grouped up, bunched up, and it pulls them right in front of you, and you just hit them with your Sacred Fire, which is the main, the primary attack that I use because it hits multiple targets in front of you, not just one target like the other primary attack. And if you throw this essence on it, Sacred, where it shoots out a flame, so now each time you're using your primary attack, that attack is hitting them and the flame is hitting them. So it's just all, all about AoE. And then this is a newish essence, which is pretty nice. The Holy Banner duration gets extended by each enemy that gets killed within it, up to 4.8 seconds. So, you can have your banner out for a long time. If again, you're, grouping up enemies, and that's how you should be doing it, and killing them. And then Thunder Horse, it's the best, a version of Drunk Order, which itself is a really nice farming skill in pretty much any of its forms. Even just the basic form where it drags enemies, that's great, because you can pick them up and they're on your chain and you don't have to actually move. They're still being dragged, even if they're just stationary. They're just sitting there like going like and even if you're not moving, so you basically immobilize them and you can still be damaging them. So even in its basic form, Drunk Order, as soon as you get it, that should be in your farming build. But the Electrified Horse version of it, Thunder Horse, is amazing. It's zapping all the enemies around you with lightning, and if they get hit 3 times, they get stunned, which is awesome. And pretty much, unless you get knocked off your horse, which doesn't really happen in PvE that much, you're going to hit all the enemies around you 3 times. So you're basically stunning everyone around you. Meanwhile, still using your primary attack as well, which is an AoE because it hits all around you. So it's all about AoE. And then, the Sacred Chains, like I said, it's a convenience thing for farming, but you could replace that with all sorts of just anything, damage. AoE is really what you're going for. And Treasure Hunter Paragon is an absolute must for farming. And I've actually, as I've said previously, when you are free to play or casual, you kind of have to pick one thing to focus on the most if you want it to be up to par with other players who are not, putting money into the game or can grind all the time. Um, so my Paragon build is PvP oriented, um, which I'll get into in my Vault Dash builds video and at some point Battleground build video or just general PvP tips video that um, you want to aim for all the damage and life nodes. So I've got as many of those as I can, but mainly focusing on life in my case, and I'll talk more about that in my dash build video. But there's many reasons why increasing your life is worth a little bit more than damage as a free play casual, and being a little bit weaker. So there's your little preview for those who checked it out of my PVE farming build. And rewind. I'll put in chapters eventually, but go back if you wanted to see what I was talking about with materials management. But basically, make sure that setting is off until your secondary gear, your set items, are all at level 10 is the most important thing. And then this, apparently we tested it. It does work as it should, and it will, if you have it use either tier for your primary gear, it will use up the lower tier ones first. So that's good. So that's it. Yeah, I'll put chapters in here if anyone's on right now. Go back. And thanks for the few people that checked this out. I'm trying to get videos out as quick as I can, which again is very slow, but help me blow up the channel. And then it blows up enough to where I can get paid, and then I can do this full time. I could be I have so many videos I want to put out, so much footage I've recorded, and just don't have time. So help me blow up the channel so that I can do this, and then I can put out a lot more stuff. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace.